Guys, welcome back. Kevin here, sans Joe, to watch the second episode of The Sopranos. Um, I was curious when I did the first one if anyone would be interested in watching along with me. I'd never seen it, so I thought that might be kind of fun to go ahead and put it out there. And fortunately and awesomely, a lot of you were interested. Some of you who have seen the show, and this is an opportunity to rewatch with someone like me who hasn't, which is always fun to share. And also really cool people who haven't seen it either and are going to watch it for the first time along with me as well, and kind of try to you know get into the show. Again, it's one I don't know much about because I didn't have HBO at the time the show was on television. So I didn't see any ads for it really. I managed to miss a lot of it. The only you know character I knew really from the show was Tony Soprano. That's hard to be alive, in America for the last 20 years and not know who Tony Soprano is, and that he's played by James Gandolfini. But other than that, I think I saw a couple of scenes like in late seasons when I was like staying in hotels that did have HBO, channel flipping. Got to The Sopranos, realized, oh, it's The Sopranos. I don't know what's going on, and then flipped away. So this is really nice that we're able to in the world of streaming, get in and do that now. A week later, one of the nice things about watching the show weekly and not binging is you have time to kind of reflect a little bit and process what you watched before watching the next episode. And for me, the way that process works really well is, what is it that I can't get out of my head from the previous episode, right? Like, what stuck with me? It's what makes Mad Men so much fun to watch. It's sometimes it's the small moment and the small details and the tiny metaphors that really eat at me for a week, and then I'm like, oh, now I'm starting to really see where the show's going a week later. So for the Sopranos, for the pilot episode, there were two things that I've really been thinking about this week since watching last week. The first one is Junior, Uncle Junior, and Tony's mother, who seem to be terrible people. And we had that moment in the car with them where Junior's complaining, and Junior seems to me, for those of you who are familiar with the Godfather movies, very much a Fredo character. Um, Total insecurity, right? Maybe not even really that skilled, but kind of like, I'm in this life because of nepotism. It sounds like Tony is a little bit more adept at this life, and probably Tony's dad as well. And Junior kind of just seems to be, the why is nobody respecting me enough guy in the show. And his mention that maybe something needs to be done about Tony was like, okay, so we're getting around to Junior thinking that maybe he should be the one in charge, which means Tony should be not around anymore. Tony should be dead. And the more chilling moment of that was Tony's mom not saying anything in protest, just kind of like wide eyed, kind of like nodding her head and looking away a little bit. I think most human parents in the world, after hearing that, would say, whoa, 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 don't even joke about threatening my child. She didn't have that moment. And she seems lucid. I don't know if I'm reading that wrong. And of course, it's one episode. So maybe there's a redemption arc for these characters. We've certainly watch shows. Game of Thrones is one obviously that comes to mind that I've watched. Joe hasn't. I'm trying to get him to do it kind of like this for Patreon as well. Just by himself because he's never seen it. Um, where a character is detestable at first or likable at first, and then as the show goes on and they go through their arcs, that changes completely, one way or the other. The second real big takeaway from this was Tony is having at least one affair or multiple ones, and the reason that stuck with me is it's a weird choice on his part because he's under so much stress from his job, from his wife and kids, from his uncle, from his mother, who seems like a lot currently. And then he's carrying on with at least one other woman that we know about. And it sounds like he's been caught before. And I don't know if it's the same woman or if he's just doing this a lot. Because when he went back to the restaurant, and someone pointed out it was the same restaurant, and the waiter was like, Mr. Soprano, haven't seen you in a few months, being a good soldier because Tony is taking his wife to a restaurant. He just took his mistress. And so it seems like that's a thing that's happened multiple times before. And that's a strange choice to me, given how much stress he's under. Because, like, wow, my family's stressing me out. You know what I need? A second wife, another girl to really make things smoother. which is a dumb choice on his part, but that kind of fits with the character. I also don't know if Tony Soprano as a character was written specifically for James Gandolfini, but it's a tough character that does a lot of heavy lifting, right? He's got to be tough, manly. He mentioned Gary Cooper, right, as the don't talk about your feelings. Also go into therapy and be really uncomfortable and vulnerable, and to be willing to be grilled by a therapist, a female therapist, which he didn't acknowledge to his wife that she was a female and I'm as a woman, and I'm wondering if that's going to be an issue later. Certainly with Camilla, if not with Tony. But it's weird that Tony decided not to share that, and I'm kind of wondering what the payoff on that's going to be.
We've seen arrests and prosecutions in Florida and elsewhere of top mob figures.
What are you doing? Put
Turn
that
it
back.
away, yeah.
Out, they pulled me back in.
The Godfather 3 crap. That's such a terrible movie.
Government witness turned best-selling author.
This is kind of like Henry Hill a
Attorney
little
Brown.
bit.
Well, it's not like it was.
Cloning.
Mexicans are huge in that.
Fascinating, gotta admit it.
I love how it's in the background, but these guys are like not even paying attention to it.
Science.
I tell my kids, only God can make a life.
It's always interesting to me that like the mob, who's obviously terrible people, are also so religious or performative religious, or think that they're. I don't know. It seems like a weird dichotomy.
Or the Omerta,
This feels very
whatever you wanna call it,
Tarantino-esque, like the opening
by
of
divorce.
Reservoir Dogs, the conversation.
You're always going to have organized crime.
Being on the unit that drives around and shoots these for HBO, because a lot of HBO shows do like the settings shots, montages for the shows, and I think it'd be great being on the unit. Like, go out and show me New Jersey, show me New York. Don't pull over. This is.
You want to be scathed?
Yeah, so it looks like I didn't give up without a struggle.
Oh, that landed good. By the way, he has a crappy boss if his boss to see physical evidence that he put up a fight.
Mr. Miller's car got stolen.
Fresh my memory. Who's he again?
He's your son's science teacher?
What are you getting in science?
D+.
See what I can do.
Oh my god, it's gonna be a quid pro quo for his grade. Yeah. Did he not get in any real trouble for killing the guy in the last episode that he wasn't really supposed to?
It's a goddamn riot, that's all.
I'll be glad to hook it up, Tom. I used to be an installer.
So Brendan must be one of Chris's guys, but not Tony's. Yeah, something's burning on her stove. Oh, okay. Just move it off the burner. No.
Hey, Ma.
No. Yeah.
Look at how I live.
Ma, hang up and call 911.
Can he call for her? Did he give him the address?
Have a nice day, ma'am.
Thanks, fellas.
No problem.
It's time. It's time to make a change, which I understand is hard.
You need company.
Now, don't start with that nursing home business again.
You just about burnt your house down.
You can always come and live with us.
I know when I'm not wanted.
To be fair, she's probably right. I don't think Tony wants out at all.
They're anxiety attacks. He's on medication.
I don't know that she's supposed to be sharing that information. Because I don't trust her not to tell Junior.
Shop on Watchung Avenue said some guys brought in a sad and these plates trying to load it for parts. Whatever, the coffee shop. I guess the guy works there.
What Chung Avenue and what?
Decaf cappuccino primo, non-fat magnifico, double espresso, regulare.
Okay, so they're taking a shot at Starbucks here for sure.
All our food. Pizza, calzone, buffalo mozzarella, olive oil.
You accord this little old lady an almost mystical ability to wreak havoc.
See, yeah, she's right.
What were some of
she?
the good experiences you remember as a child?
Oh boy.
You want me to put them on the dining room table, Olivia?
You make sure the bottom of that vase isn't wet. She's stealing.
Who?
The Ditsoon who I can manage somehow.
No, I'm not giving in to you this time. She stays.
He's just going to chase her off. I had an uncle who had Alzheimer's, unfortunately, and we couldn't keep him in a home. My family couldn't. I had nothing to do with it because he kept assaulting the staff, and they kept kicking him out of different places. He kept hitting them.
The kids who hit that truck, they make restitution to Junior.
Done. It's done.
Yeah, he is very sick.
Maybe I should name a successor.
This day and age.
There's going to be a problem between these two down the road, a real one.
Guy fitting the description does work in this here branch. His
There
name is
you go.
Eduardo Arnez.
That's it!
Yeah, I figured this is what was going to happen. Yeah.
Beats me. These blacks. Who knows where they're going to take the wrong way?
That is a hard woman to love.
I'm not gonna pay it.
Oh, yeah?
I'm serious.
You got a reputation for immaturity, and it's not gonna be improved by not paying the tributes the acting boss demands of you.
There's so much like future conflict brewing here for sure.
You seen a school teacher satin around here? The two of yous are climbing over that fence and shagging those plates. The other goes out on the street and boosts another satin.
Oh my God, really?
You know, I complain about my mother all the time, about how she just sits at home, but she's always ready to drive those Ulster friends of hers around.
I'm surprised she's still driving, honestly.
There's my star ledger. Thanks.
He didn't shift.
Depression can cause accidents, poor performance. She could need a change in her living situation, be around more people. I know seniors who are inspired and inspiring.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. Me too.
Scorsese, good evening.
It wasn't him?
Marty!
Yeah! It's Martin Scorsese. That's awesome.
So my boy at Calmly said there's a truckload of Italian suits.
Give me one good reason I should not jack this truck.
This is Junior's truck?
It's not like I'm getting somewhere playing by the rules.
You got the most rewarding chapter of your life coming up.
Supporting
You
the
know my good
therapist.
jewelry?
No.
I'm not going to that nursing home.
Green Grove is a retirement community. This black poison cloud all the time, because I can't take it anymore.
Oh, poor you. And take the carving knife and stab me. Here. Here.
She is so passive aggressive into straight aggressive.
I'm taking a pass. What? It's Italian suits, Christopher.
Okay, Christopher's not being stupid here.
Why be in a crew? Why be a gangster?
Is Brendan going to go off and do it by himself and really screw this up? Oh my God, they can't drive the friggin' truck. They killed the friggin' driver. An inside guy, one of Junior's guys.
You excited about coming to live with us, hon?
I don't feel like Brendan's going to be on the show very long.
Brendan hit Calmly again.
You what?
I don't know. He caught some friendly fire or something, and he's gone.
Brendan's not going to survive this episode, is he?
Just so long as you realize I had nothing to do with this, Tone. Tone, that's true. He stood home.
Shut up. Did you do anything to stop it? Did you offer any guidance? What you're gonna do is you're gonna take these suits, you're gonna put them back in the truck, you're gonna go over to Comley's main yard, and you're gonna give them back.
Oh my God, they're suit shopping off of this.
Just when I thought I was out, pull me back in.
My wife dropped me off this morning, and there it was. It's right in my parking spot.
It's a different color.
Whoa.
It is not your car.
Ooh.
Oh, they painted it. Oh my God, that was awesome. I mean, I feel bad for the person who just lost their Saturn. Okay, yeah. I feel like Tony's going to go through a lot emotionally on this show.
She won't speak to me.
Give her time.
That is sad. But whose choice is that? It's hard to admit that you might have feelings of hatred towards your own mother, isn't it?
I don't want to talk to you anymore. Hate
Wow.
your mother.
So he's going to stop going, at least for a while now? I wonder how common that is in therapy for people to, like, get too close to a really painful truth and decide to stop going. Be mad at the therapist rather than deal with it or talk about it or even process or think about it at all.
Press 2 if you know your party's extension.
He's about to display his anger at this poor bartender.
Oh, tough.
Oh, God, that poor guy. That was quite a last shot there, like a long, wide shot on the dancers there who were like, but then had to start dancing again. I mean, that's what they're there for. That's their job. That was. I love the fact that we're not ignoring the psychological aspect of it. Again, as I kind of said at the beginning, you really had to find the right actor to play the role of Tony Soprano, and they really nailed it with James Gandolfini. And that was it, right? He's angry at his mother. I don't know if hate is the right word. I feel like that there were I feel like she maybe should have said angry with her rather than hate her a little bit, because that obviously put him very much on the defensive. But she was right about displaced anger because it just blew up on this poor guy who's struggling to understand the telephone system, um, as happens with people. I'm not sure I remember how to do any of that honestly. Um, Obviously, I don't think that the mother's refusal to talk to Tony is going to be permanent. I think that's another thing that could have been said was, yeah, she's not talking to you right now, but give her a little time. Um, she'll probably start to like her situation now a little bit more as time passes, and then she'll be more willing to open up and talk to you and kind of let go of the anger of the whole situation. But then again, I am absolutely no trained therapist, so I feel like the doctor has mostly been completely spot on. Um, she makes a lot of observations, gives a lot of advice. I don't know if that's how therapy can or should work. These are outside my field of expertise. Rather than a lot of just listening and taking time to kind of get to the crux of things down the road, it seems to be moving pretty fast as far as her getting into her advice role. Maybe that's the kind of therapist she is. Maybe it's more counseling really than therapy. I don't know, but this kind of strikes me a little bit is like the fun times that we see in Goodfellas, right? We see like the cool, neat, I get away with it and do what I want stuff of how great it is to be a gangster, right? We saw that in Goodfellas, and it's down the road a little bit in the movie and possibly in this show where it's like, yeah, but there are costs and there are consequences, and we're not really seeing those yet. And Scorsese, who made an appearance in this episode, also didn't really show us too early what the consequences were, right? As the police clampdown came and the paranoia and the infighting got worse, and we can see we're leading to infighting here for sure. Um, that's probably going to ramp up some down the road. We haven't seen them yet, but I would be really surprised if is it 7 seasons? I'm not even sure how long the show is, but in the run of the show, um, if we don't see some type of police or FBI presence at some point, because that seems like a pretty natural progression, right? If we're kind of at the death rattle, a lot of people seem to be saying and thinking, as we saw in the television clip, that the mob is going through upheaval because it's just not as easy to be a mobster anymore in our new digital world. Um, and how it's not a mob that's running everything, but kind of corporations seem to be kind of replacing the mob strangely. But surely we're going to head towards the party being over at some point, at least for a lot of these characters. I don't think there's any universe where we get all the way through the show and all or even most of these characters are still like free and walking around and alive. I don't know what's going to happen. Like I said, all I know about the ending is it was controversial, but I think it was, from what I recall, when the show was on television and people were talking about the ending, that it was ambiguous, and I didn't get any more detail than that because I wasn't part of the community watching the show at the time. So I don't know what happens at the end, other than people were upset about how ambiguous the ending was, and I don't know really specifics about it. I did it might have been a cutout at a weird time or something like that as far as how the show ends. I'm trying to remember, but obviously it doesn't matter. We're going to get there. Um, but regardless, uh, you can kind of get a sense of like the conversation between Junior and Tony, where they're kind of having to that be mediated, right? Because there's not a real solid organizational structure, kind of means that there's going to be problems, and there were later in the episode, right? I'm surprised Brendan's still alive. I don't see that continuing too much further because even when Brendan was talking about getting clean, like don't worry, it's not me, it's the drugs, and I'm going to take care of that. And then Christopher said like you're going to get me killed, which means you're already dead, but you're going to get me killed too if you don't shut up. So I feel like even Christopher knows that Brendan's probably not long for this world. He messed up in a major way. I don't know what that's going to look like. I mean, is Tony going to do something to Brendan to appease Junior? Is Junior going to have it done himself? Junior does not. I mean, obviously he's an old man, but Junior doesn't strike me as a guy who ever really did the dirty work himself. Right? He kind of strikes me more as the guy who orders people to do the dirty work because I think again I still kind of think of him in that Fredo role where he is more wanting to be taken seriously in this world rather than being serious in this world. Although it did definitely seem like he was more substantial this episode because after the accident, I guess Brendan did say like, "Oh my God, Junior's going to be so mad," and even Tony was like, "You better figure out a way to square this with Junior." So Junior does clearly have some semblance of power here to make people's lives difficult. I don't know how that's going to manifest itself. And I'm kind of watching the show too, like, kind of getting to know all these characters we see over and over again and thinking, is it possible, not now, but down the road, that one of these characters could flip into be like, not just, betrayal, end of the Godfather style, but flip and be like an FBI informant or somebody that becomes a police, a CI or a police asset down the road, somebody wearing a wire or something like that. And thus far, I can't think of any character that stands out as someone that clearly is along those lines of doing that. And obviously, we're very early, and that may change. And I cannot wait for the next one. This is a very bingeable show. I won't. We'll catch you in the next one, guys. Thanks so much for being here with me.